Thank you for joining this briefing on the Oracle Cloud VMware Solution. My name is Mark Johnson, Vice President of Oracle's Federal Cloud Sales, and I'll be your host for today's discussion with three colleagues: Janice Haith, Strategic Client Executive for Oracle Public Sector; Craig Bowman, Senior Director of VMware's National Security Business; and Robert Ames, Senior Director, Emerging Technology at VMware. All four of us started our careers in government service and moved into the IT industry as part of our commitment to technology innovation in government. Janice came to Oracle after 34 years of federal service in roles of increasing responsibility, culminating in her appointment as the Civilian Executive U.S. Navy Chief Information Officer. I also served in the Navy as a test pilot and founded a successful IT startup. Robert has held a variety of technical leadership roles across the government, including at Incatel, and brings a unique perspective as a classically trained opera singer and guitarist. Craig has been a longtime cyber warrior, not only within the U.S. federal government and intel community, but in leading large organizations at Verizon and Adobe. Collectively, we have spent almost 100 years in and around the government IT and security space, and we've experienced technology that works and what doesn't work when supporting the execution of critical missions. Before we begin, I want to describe what the Oracle Cloud VMware Solution is: a Fedramp High and DISA Impact Level 5 compliant cloud offering that delivers a complete VMware solution stack with a native VMware experience. Craig, can you tell us a little bit more about the components and what government use cases should cause customers to consider this service?
Sure, thanks, Mark. So I think first of all, you didn't go enough into the details about what you really have, which is pretty incredible. So you all are providing with your cloud a lot more memory cache, more cores, in fact, 52 cores. The fact that you're including storage, 55 terabytes per node. So if you're running a 3-node, you're talking 150 terabytes, that's massive. And then the fact that you're not doing egress fees and that you're not charging for ingress, egress, and that you're simplifying your cost. So right off the bat, from a mission perspective, Oracle has got an incredible advantage from a cost savings perspective. But under the covers, you've got all kinds of things going on, which allow us then to bring our tools that customers are already familiar with, so that they don't have to retrain their people to be able to run the tools in the cloud or on-prem. And I think that's really valuable. And that's why I think the combination of the Oracle VMware solution is going to be really compelling to our customers.
Yeah, Craig, I want to jump in on that and say the way I like to think of this in simple terms is it's like a cut and paste for the data center. Literally, you can take your on-premise VMware environment and basically cut and paste it into the VMware Oracle Cloud solution. And I think that's just fantastic and will speed the ramp to the cloud.
Yeah, Robert, that's a really good point. And there is another element just to add to what you just said, which is, Oracle is the only cloud that does a true isolation or dedicated environment architecture. So what that means is that if you have data sovereignty or security issues, right, top secret needs or secret needs, nobody has root access to your environment. And that is really different than a lot of the hyperscale providers. You're not sharing this architecture with people that are mucking around with your environment. You are the one controlling it. It is a customer managed cloud environment with all of the other things that you just talked about and that I mentioned earlier. So that's truly unique.
That was great. Security and price are critical components for our government customers. Janice, how would this capability and these use cases change your strategy as a federal CIO?
So I believe that for the Navy in particular, as well as the rest of DoD, the idea of the cut and paste is actually phenomenal. I mean, it would have allowed us to move faster. We would have been able to do it more in a cheaper manner, and it wouldn't have taken us to get from even government on-prem to commercial off-prem to the time it's taken now. It's a lot smoother, it's cleaner, and it draws more efficiency. And I think it would be one the workforce would embrace and help move the needle along better.
So Craig, you mentioned security once before, but how do you see this really helping governments be more secure in executing their mission?
The reality is that for a long time, security and network teams have been separate. So we build infrastructure, and then we expect security teams to go secure that infrastructure. And the reality is that the future for networking will be mostly virtual. We will be establishing software-defined routers, switches, RANs, servers. Everything will be able to scale up and scale down based on the needs of the mission. And what that means is that we're going to have to virtualize all security. When we talk about zero trust, we're talking about being able to deploy security in virtual environments in real time to ensure that anytime we change the network, that security goes with it. And that is something that the Oracle VMware solution is going to be one piece of that ecosystem that eventually the government's going to be using to secure their entire environment, all the way from the data to the device.
Robert, what does bare metal in the Oracle Cloud bring to this VMware solution?
Bare metal brings greater predictability of performance and a lower level of access for the customers. So the entire stack is going to be much more predictable in its performance, and there's a better sense of how things are going to scale.
Janice, how can government leaders get started using cloud with this service?
I think this is just adding to what they're already doing, is to have more understanding about the cut and paste. I think that is just the key right now to moving the needle, where you don't have to worry about mission degradation. You can do the move to the environment without worrying about your operations failing. You can keep up the pace. And so I think they need to bring in the Oracle VMware team so they can talk about it, get a better understanding, have the tech exchanges, and keep that momentum going, because I think this is a game changer.
Robert, can you tell us a little bit about the financial advantages of this service for government IT leaders?
Sure. I think Craig introduced some of the sort of equipment level efficiencies and cost savings. What I'm really interested about is the predictability of this service and the fact that its pricing is so transparent and at parity with commercial markets. When I've been advising senior government leaders, they have a real hard time understanding the cost and predicting how much it's going to cost in the future. And I understand this solution is really going to address that, and it's very powerful.
Yeah, I would agree, Mark. I think that understanding the cost model and the predictability allows them, as they build their budgets in a 3 to 5 year period, it's straight, or a flat line, as some people call it. So it's not the surprise bills coming, and it allows them to plan. They know where they can shift money that they save to other missions and operations, and there's no degradation. So cost is a driver. But I think when they see the flat line, it makes it much more palatable and more embracing for the outcome.
Hey, Janice, I'll just add to that. So Robert, when you talk about predictability, cost is one element of predictability. One of the things we've seen in the customer space is the predictability of performance. So some of our customers moved payloads into a cloud provider only to realize the latency. They had to move it again. And when they moved it, they then got hit with all the ingress and egress fees. And so as they're trying to find places for the right place to put their payloads, because they didn't know for sure, that's where I think, Janice, the cost then got out of control, because they didn't realize the predictability of the performance. So all of that plays into, I think, Robert, what you were saying about just having predictability in general.
Absolutely. And to just tie a bow back to the earlier cut and paste conversation, refactoring of applications was a massive cost as well, and a very important consideration, which this removes.
Yeah, I think that's a big point there. The refactoring of the applications. Nobody knew what the size truly was. They didn't know the complexity. And I think that eliminates some of that challenge that senior leaders have been having. It would have been beneficial when I was in the seat if that was available to me at that time.
Hey, Janice, one of the challenges that you were faced with, I know, as a government IT leader, was your workforce and training and retraining. How would this service have affected the way you looked at training your workforce and employing them?
I think this puts back to COVID-19, the work from home model, knowing that the people could do this virtually from their home without having to go in the building. It would allow us to retrain their mindset, but also give them a new skill set to look at. And as I go back to cost, then the government starts to also see another cost reduction in lease space, building space occupancy costs, all of those cost drivers come down, and you can use that money somewhere else. So workforce retraining with the VM Oracle team would be phenomenal for the longevity of the employee. It gives them something else to look forward to.
I hope what's been obvious from our discussion today is that collaboration is important for the future mission success of the government. And this is a great example of Oracle and VMware coming together and collaborating on a solution that is going to make a difference for our customers.
Oh, I'd love to add to that. I think that, we as a nation and individual corporate entities, we have to find ways to collaborate to win. And I think this is just a very powerful way to deliver value to the government and to the taxpayer.
Yeah, Robert, I'll echo that. At the end of the day, for me, it's always been about mission. And, mission, the consumers of mission services, they don't care what company is behind it, but what they really want are companies to come together to give them capabilities to reduce the cost and to do it faster. And I think that having two juggernauts like Oracle and VMware come together to do this is just a great story.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that the power of the two Silicon Valley companies coming to the greater good of the federal government is good for not only the mission and operations of the missions that they execute, but it's good for the taxpayer and what benefits they see from lower cost and what can be used to take care of other areas of what the government has to execute.
Thank you all for your insights. For more information on what we've been talking about today, we invite you to check out the resources on oracle.com and vmware.com. Thank you for your time.